Good morning, everyone. We'll give it just another minute to let everyone log on here. All right, let's go ahead and get started, Andre.
Okay. And good morning, everyone. My name is Andre Hargrave, and I'm the director of the Minority Business Development Agency for the Rocky Mountain region. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about demystifying GSA schedules. And I would like to also thank everyone for returning. This was scheduled for, I believe, a week ago with one of our other consultants, Angel Codon. Unfortunately, she had some family emergencies that had to be taken care of, and also today is a continuation of some of those issues. So I will be your instructor today. So without further ado, let's get started. So as I stated, I am with the Minority Business Development Agency. Our division is located in Denver. We're South Denver in the tech center. So we only have an hour, so we're going to try to move through this relatively quickly. I have a lot of things to share with you, and if there's any questions, please feel free to ask. Here's a little bit about my background. I like to share things, let people know what I've done, my background, so you'll know how I come about some of the statements that I make as a business.
We're not seeing your screen yet.
You're not seeing the screen? Let me know when you can see it. Can you see it?
No.
I think you have it now, Andre.
Can you see my screen?
Nope, not yet.
What about you, Carlene? Can you see it?
It flashes back and forth between our logo.
That's just me talking. Do you need a reshare at the bottom, Andre? I think you might have turned it off.
Reshare. Okay, let's see what we have here. Sorry for this.
Share the screen. You should be sharing the screen again.
Okay. Let's do this again. Okay.
There we go.
Okay, yes.
All righty.
You're all set.
Okay.
Thanks, Andre.
Hey, can you see the screen now?
Yep, you're all good.
Okay. So a little bit about my background as a business developer, advocate, and lobbyist. The way that I go about things are a little bit different than what you're going to hear from some of the other organizations that's out here, because as a business developer, we also look at how these instruments are actually used. So theory is one thing, application is another. So what is the Minority Business Development Agency? That's a good question. So we are technically the newest federal agency that's dedicated to helping minority and also other socially disadvantaged businesses grow and expand through economic development means. So elements such as through local governments, be it taxes or financing and all of those kind of elements. Our job is to be able to bring all those elements to one location and help diverse businesses. And so one of the things that we do is we discuss a little bit, we do separate minority, small business, and socially disadvantaged businesses. So for everyone out there, I'll just explain what a socially disadvantaged business is. In layman terms, is really just a company that has trouble competing against larger companies in its own industry for whatever reason that may be. And that's what social disadvantage means. So here's a little bit about our declaration as a newest federal agency of 2021. Feel free to look it up online. But the organization itself has been around for 35 years as a grant under the Department of Commerce. So now we're a full bureaucracy-filled organization, just so you know. Right? So let's get started. What is a schedule? So I get this question a lot. A lot of companies come to me. I'll sit down with about 200 companies a year, and a lot of them have this question. They say, well, what is a schedule, right? So a schedule itself is an instrument. We call them instruments. So a schedule itself is a contract with General Services Administration. And we're not going to really get into a lot into the history of GSA because there's a history there that a lot of people don't really realize how they operate. They just know, I've been told I should get on schedule or something to that effect. But a schedule, I'm going to give you the technical term first, and then I'll explain it. It's a government-wide indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, IDIQ, multiple awards schedule / contract is what it is. Now, what does that mean? It means a lot. Basically, it just says it's a long-term government-wide contract which commercial firms with commercial firms to provide ordering activity with access to a wide variety of commercial supplies or services. That's technically what it is, right? But in essence, what it is just, it's a pre-qualified contract. That's what it is. If you want to look at it in the most layman terms, once you go after a GSA schedule and you're awarded a schedule, you're pre-qualified. Your pricing has been acknowledged, elements of how you market, all those things have been acknowledged. So it just makes it easier for, as an agency, to be able to say, okay, I want to do business with this organization. For me, as an agency, it's less paperwork. You're pre-qualified, right? I kind of know what I'm getting. And it just makes the buying process a lot easier for the agency itself. How it works with the agencies in the background is a lot different, however. It's not what you think, right? So we're going to go through a little bit of that and talk about some of the other things. Below that statement, you'll see it's a 5-year award with up to 3 5-year options. So you can use your one schedule for 15 years to market and go after governmental contracts, which is excellent, right? It's fixed price, so, you know, economic price adjustments and all of those kind of things. We can talk a little bit more about that. Angel Cordon is actually the one who now performs most of our GSA schedules and other contracting vehicles, because GSA does have competition. A lot of people don't realize that, but we can talk about that. So some of the other elements that are right there for you. And please, if you have questions, you know, put your hands up and ask and those kind of things, but I'll be more than happy to answer those for you. So let's really get into this, because most companies that I talk to don't really understand, right? They'll speak to an agency, and that agency states, hey, if you was on schedule, I can buy your product a lot easier. And then they run off and they want to get on schedule, but they really don't understand what that means. So basically, according to the Federal Acquisition Regulation, you know, it's a government-wide element. So all across the federal government, and even some state and local governments can utilize the schedules depending on, you know, the actions that they're looking for. So GSA schedules can be used by any federal agency, DOD, Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, and Department of Energy, right? They can all use it. Not saying that they all will use it. That's the question. That's what a lot of people don't get. Not all agencies will utilize the GSA schedule. And a lot of them use it at different levels of acquisition, right? Some use it for smaller acquisitions, some use it for larger acquisitions. Some agencies may use Seaport E, or they may use SOUP, NASA SOUP. So really understanding how these agencies who you're targeting will buy a product is really, really important, which dictates what instrument you would get on. It's indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity. So at the state level, we call them BPAs, blanket purchase agreements. So you go after this GWAC, government-wide acquisition contract, you get on it, and you think that phone is gonna ring, and guess what? You'll be waiting there a long time. It does ring, it can ring, and every now and then it may ring, but most of the time it doesn't ring. right? But basically, once you get on it, it's indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity. So the agency can buy what they need, when they need it, and how much they need it at different elements. So that's basically what you just pre-qualified, right? It's multiple award, more than one company can be on it. You know, so it's not like an IDIQ, which may only have 2 or 3 vendors on it. Your particular schedule could have hundreds of companies on it, right? Not saying that they're all going after what you're going after, but just so you know, it's not the utopia that a lot of people think, but it can be very instrumental in selling products and services, especially simplified products and services. Now, let's get to the meat of the steak. The benefits of getting on a GSA schedule, okay? Reduce competition. We all love reduced competition, right? So, and the way it reduces is really the cusp of the whole thing. That's what I'm getting excited about. So the way that it reduces is that if I'm purchasing cell phones and I'm an agency, just go with me here, and it's on schedule, and I advertise on schedule, and I'm going to buy it off schedule. The only ones who get to actually sell me those phones are people who are on that schedule. So if I put, and it's not the right schedule, but let's say it was schedule 51, and let's just say that was IT, right? And I was buying these phones. So the only ones who can compete for this bid is people who are on that schedule. That's how it limits competition. And you must have access to GSA eBuy, right? Because that's the platform that I will probably advertise. I would advertise on SAM also, System for Award Management. That is true. But as far as bidding, chances are I'm gonna have to bid through eBuy, which eliminates everyone who's not on GSA schedule, because only GSA schedule holders have access to GSA eBuy. It's a simplified sales process, right? So the rates are already pre-negotiated. It's easier justification for the contracting officer to buy your products. That is a wonderful thing, right? So those 2 elements alone help position you to be able to sell to an agency that is active with purchasing off schedule. It's recognized by all federal agencies. We've already stated that, and that is true. It is recognized, but that does not mean every agency will buy off of that schedule, right? At the certain dollar point in which you're looking at, just so you know. Now, before I get to the next one, I'm going to also state this. Whenever we're dealing with the government, there's basically 3 ways of marketing to the government. And don't let anyone tell you that there's more than 3. There's only 3, right? And as you'll see, everyone utilizes the same methods, but they can be combined, they can be separated, right? And those 3 are either you're targeting a solicitation in which the agency has already decided what it wanted. Maybe it went to industry and it came back and said, okay, here's what we want. We want a cell phone with 2.3 gig of memory, whatever. I'm not a techie anymore. So, but they could say that, right? So the agency decided what they wanted and they put it on solicitation. 2, you approach the agency and you say, hey, agency, I sell cell phones and it's special, it levitates, would you want to buy it? The agency says yes. That's origination. That's the second way of doing it, right? It's the most like sales. The third way of doing it, which everybody wants, which you really have to do the other 2 to be able to get the third, and that's by referral, right? Everybody wants their phone to ring. Everybody wants referral. Those are the only 3 ways that we really get to do business with the federal government, right? So somebody referred us, we originated it, or it was coming out to solicitation anyway. Now, you're either going to get good at one of those, or you'll get good at least 2 of those to generate the third, right? Even with the schedule, same process. If you're waiting for a solicitation, it's going to come out on eBuy and it's going to come out on SAM and you will target it, right? Or you're going to go in there and you're going to originate. So I just wanted to put that out there so everybody understands how these schedules work, because most companies lose their schedule. Most small companies, roughly, depending on which document you're looking at, anywhere from 40 to 60% of companies that get on schedule can't generate the necessary $25,000 to be able to, in the second year, to be able to hold the schedule, to retain the schedule. So that's something else that you might want to consider there. Now, the 4th thing on this list is state, state is misspelled. I see that. State and local agencies. So municipalities. Now, At the end of this PowerPoint presentation, there's a couple of other slides that will illustrate when a state can buy. So if you're more comfortable selling at the municipal level, the state and smaller municipalities. So when we talk about municipalities, we're talking about state, capital cities in Denver, in Colorado. Denver's the capital city, right? And we're talking about smaller municipalities, anything under the capital city, right? So those organizations can buy off schedules during different times, such as just national emergencies, declarations of emergencies, those kind of things. So there's a slide at the end of this official PowerPoint presentation that will talk a little bit about that. Right? But if you have questions, please ask. Why obtain a schedule? That's a good point. Because sometimes we tend to follow the herd, which doesn't help you any. I know an enormous amount of companies that are 8A, on schedule, hub zone, service disabled veteran, you name it, woman owned, you name it, all of them. And I'll say, what have you won lately? And they'll say nothing. Oh, okay, fair enough, fair enough. What have you won since you've been certified and on schedule? Nothing. Okay. First thing we have to realize is that there's a marketing issue there, right? And all these tools such as certifications, contracting vehicles, and all those elements won't help you if you don't have a good basis for a marketing strategy. And that's something that the MBDA can also help you with. I have a whole team here that specializes in that, right? But let's talk about it. Customers request that you get on schedule. This is one of the biggest things of why companies want to get on schedule. They've talked to less than a handful of agencies, just less than a handful. And those agencies have said, if you were on schedule, note those words, if you were on schedule, I would be able to buy your product or service. Or they'll say, are you on schedule? Because this is how we advertise. We normally would advertise this on schedule, right? And so those are some reasons why companies want to get on schedule. That's fair, right? But you have to make sure you're hearing what you're actually hearing. If someone says, if you were on schedule, I could buy from you, your next logical question should be, oh, so you've purchased this off schedule before. Is that the only way that you all have purchased this product or service? Right? And oh, when is the next time you're going to purchase this product and service, and will it be on schedule? That will save you a lot of time and grief. Trust me, it does. But let's keep a happy front on this thing. So experience selling to, let's say a company has experience selling to governmental agencies, right? You sold here, you sold there. You want to make it a little bit more conducive to the market that you're targeting, right? Absolutely, get on schedule. You know how to close a deal. You know how to write a solicitation, right? You know how to bid on a portal, right? Absolutely, get on schedule. It will not hurt. Let's say that you graduated the certification realm, right? 8A was 9 years, you just graduated, or you're gonna graduate, or you have graduated, right? Your next logical step is to get on a contracting vehicle if you wanna keep a competitive advantage, right? And there's a lot of them. Right? Not just GSA schedules, not just C4D, not just NetSys with the Army. There's a lot of different GWACs and IDIQs and those kind of elements out here. And we can help you depending on, well, we can help you. And it just really depends on which instrument, on who you're targeting, which is it DOD, civilian agencies, and all those kind of things. But the next thing that we normally see is your competitors on GSA schedule and they're having a good time. Okay, all right. You know, company B over there is just selling like crazy and they're selling on schedule. I think I need to be on schedule too if I'm going to compete with them, right? That's absolutely a great reason to get on schedule, right? Because the methodology is proven. Okay, so I'll give you a real good life experience for myself about 7 to 8 years ago. We actually my firm actually has a call center. So we're all consultants here. So my firm actually has a call center and I wanted to put my call center on schedule. So I went on the schedule, looked up some things, looked up the call centers that were on schedule, right? And I called them and said, hey, we do a little bit different than what you do. So we're not your competitor. How do you all, how's the schedule working for you? And of the 5 or 6 that I spoke to, all of them basically said, we're not winning anything, right? And they had really given up marketing on the schedule. And that's fair. That's fair, right? I don't know how their marketing background was. I have no clue, but they had given up the essence of trying to market on schedule, right? You do market research. Okay, we can help you walk through what we call an AMA, the Agency Market Assessment. That's when we reach out to agencies and see how they buy, where they buy, when did they buy, when are they going to buy next, who is the incumbent, right? And one of those statements is, how do you buy, right? So do you buy off schedule? Do you buy off some other instrument? You know, and once you do this, you reach out to 30, 40 agencies, you will have a schematic of how they buy. Maybe they've been purchasing off 8A, right? And if they're purchasing off 8A, you're not going to pull that contract out of 8A. Maybe they've been purchasing on GSA schedule. All right. A majority of these agencies say even a third says that they purchase off schedule. Absolutely, get on schedule. But to get on schedule without doing a market assessment, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'll just say there's a little bit more of an effective way of doing it, if you were to ask me. Okay. Now we're going to get into the actual application of getting on schedule. That's what we're going to do, right? So what is a sin? Not the biblical sense of a sin, right? But what is a sin regarding as far as GSA is concerned? And it's a special item number. It's a number, right? That's assigned to a particular service, product, element, or major category. And they're really major categories, right? And so you have to know what sin you're really performing before you even get on schedule. It helps, trust me. And before I go to the next slide and move through this, let me just say this. Things within the federal arena, such as GSA schedules, getting on certifications, those kind of things, they're mostly at no cost. They're mostly, free is the wrong word, because you will be investing time and resources to get on schedule. When my firm used to actually do schedules themselves, we would easily put 100 hours, and we knew what we were doing, right? 100 hours into a schedule, you know? So basically, I know a lot of people out there have been marketed to by companies that do schedules and those kind of elements. I have nothing against it, but you have to realize what you're paying for is you're paying to save your time and effort. That's why you're paying those organizations. Now, with a caveat, it depends on how those organizations market to you. If they market to you and say, hey, what we do is we help companies get on schedule, right? That's fair. But if they call and they say, you know, you're missing billions of dollars, we can help you reach those billions of dollars that the federal government spends every year for small businesses, you know, I'm not into the bait and switch, right? So they're calling you on a pretense that they can help you actually win this work. But in actuality, the only thing they're going to do is the administrative portion of helping you get on schedule. So, like I said, I have nothing against those kind of organizations, but be mindful of what you're hearing when they come to you, right? So let's get back to the schedule. So we're gonna select a schedule, and then we're gonna just kind of walk through this process. So a SIN actually aligns with your North American Industry Classification Code, or your NAICS code, right? So if your NAICS code is 541613, marketing like mine is, or some of the others, we have a lobbying code, and we have a small business development code also, right? If that's SIN, when you're trying to get on schedule, that's SIN as we go down into categories, you'll eventually find that. Now, the other thing is, if there's no SIN for your product, right, there's not one for lobbying, right? If the SIN does not exist for your product or service, then GSA is not going to purchase it off a contract. That's just the way it is. Now, there are some weird things that we used to can do with consolidated and those kind of schedules. We're not going to get into that, but for the most part, if there's no SIN for your product, or what you do does not fit into a SIN, you know, and the further you have to go down to try to make it fit, rest assured, there will not be any solicitations for that, because those contracting officers are looking at a clean SIN. They're looking at a clean industry code, a clean SIN, a clean category, and you're so gray that there will never be a solicitation out there for you unless you originate it. And depending on the size of the deal, it forces the agency to create the solicitation. But just so you know, from a business development point of view, if you go all the way down there to get this agency to agree to buy, please do whatever it takes for them not to put it into solicitation, just so you know, okay? I see we have one question, and let's see what the question is.
Yeah, Sharika is wondering, what is useful to send when originating and contacting agencies to find out if they are interested in purchasing the service? Would it be appropriate to send a capability statement, video introduction, or samples of completed commercial projects?
Okay, so never send anything without permission, just so you know. That's just me. Another thing is, I'm from the old school. So what I really like to do is I really like to pick up the phone and let them know it's coming. So if I speak with, and I got a perfect call today, a perfect example is I got a call NREL today, the Renewable Energy Laboratory. So I'm gonna call them and I'm gonna say, hey, this is Andre Hargrave. I ain't gonna say it like that, but I'm gonna say Andre Hargrave, and I'm with such and such, and I have a question for you. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about it, and then depending on how the conversation goes, I'm gonna say, you know, I would love to send you my capability statement. And if you don't say it, they will ask for your capability statement. Right? For those who don't know what a capability statement is, think of it as a brochure with more information. It's going to have your industry codes, your certifications. It should have a couple of references on it, such as who you've done business with, and some bullet points. And the thing about capability statements is you have to remember people don't read. We're not going to read long paragraphs. We're not going to do any of that. So bullet points speak a lot. Images and bullet points. No more. We prefer to have them in one page, but if you have to, 2 pages, no more than 2 pages, right? Now, once they get that and you follow up with them, absolutely. Yeah, you can send your whole deck if you want, your whole video deck and all of that, but just don't send it blind. Let them know it's coming. And I know what a lot of people are going to say. I've called agencies and they didn't call me back. Okay, right? So sometimes they don't call me back. Or one of the most popular things, it'll take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month for them to call me back. And I'm not kidding with you, it just happened. A month for them to call me back, right? But that ain't the point. The point is I call them, I leave them a message, and I let them know that the email's coming with our capability statement. I'm sorry I missed you, really wanted to talk to you. We do this, but I'm gonna send you the information, follow up with you at a different time. Right? Leave your name, number, and that element. Okay. Is there another question, Sarah?
Nope, that's it so far.
Okay. All right. So let's get into the e-library. So you've made this decision. You've done your research. The agency said, absolutely, if you're on schedule, we'll buy your product. Right? Now, I'm gonna share with you an insider trick. They're gonna say, yeah, we'll buy your product. Be like, great, awesome. Hey, could you send me a copy of that last solicitation for these particular products, right? Because you want to see if this product has actually been sold on GSA schedule. And you'll know because when you get the actual solicitation or the solicitation number, it'll have GSA in the solicitation number. That's how you know it's set aside for GSA. Now, hold on. There's something I'm gonna share with you. Sometimes it's happened to me a couple of times out of 25 plus years of doing this, right? Where the solicitation came out and it said GSA, and me and my team would pick up the phone and we'll call the contracting officer and say, hey, we see this is set aside GSA, you know, but is it only reserved for GSA holding companies? And I've had contracting officers say, no, go ahead and send it, because they feel like they may not get enough competition through the portal, right? They could do that, right? I've had companies, and let me slow up a little bit. Do you realize that with GSA, agencies, GSA actually markets and sells this service to other agencies. So everything you see on the schedule isn't GSA internal itself, right? It could be Forest Service, it could be Fish and Wildlife, they could be utilizing the GSA instrument, right? So just so you know, I always pick up the phone, and if it's truly GSA, right, sometimes it'll say in the solicitation, have to submit through GSA eBuy, right? Only GSA eBuy will be accepted, or something, some wording like that, right? So then you kind of know it's only on GSA and you can move that. But I make a habit of picking up the phone and calling. So the first thing we want to do when we try to start when we want to get on schedule is to see if there's a schedule that fits us. That's the first thing you want to do, right? Because as I stated, lobbying doesn't have a schedule, right? So the first thing we want to do is we want to know our category, our subcategory, then down to the SIN, right? The contractor detail, size, and all that kind of stuff, we're not going to get into that here. That's more along the line of, if you sit down with us and we're helping you get on schedule, then Angel will walk all the way through that kind of stuff with you. But all these links in this deck are live. So after this, Sarah's going to send them out, and you can just click on them and they'll take you right where you need to be, okay? So the first place we're gonna go is to the GSA library. And just like any other library in America, because there's one in every city just about, it's just full of information, more information than you can probably look at in months, right? But let's go there, right? So the first thing we need to understand before we hit the schedule, there are 12 major categories of schedule, major categories, right? Facilities, furnishings, human capital, industrial products, da 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 da. You need to fit in one of these categories. The cleaner you fit, the better off you are, right? Here's the GSA library. This is when you go to that site, this is what you're going to see. And once again, you'll see those 12 categories. Here they are right here, right? And let's say that we hit one of these categories, right? I'm going to hit one of them. And then it's going to take us to the multiple award schedule, right? So up under facilities, you see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 subcategories. And one of these categories is what you're going to fit into, right? So your consultant that's helping you has to help you narrow it down. And if you have somebody internal, they would help you narrow it down to your subcategory. Is there a question?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna let you talk and ask your question if you want to unmute yourself. And they might not be able to. They're saying they're a freight broker. They're wondering if they can fit into your GSA.
So yes, freight is one of the categories. Let me see if it's on the next one. Freight is one of the categories. And the way it would work is, up under transportation logistics services. That's where you would fit. So you see up under transportation logistics services, there's transportation of things, right? That's freight. So yes, you would fit in this category. That's the category you would fit into. And then Angel would help you narrow it down to the particular sins that you would say that you perform, if that helps.
Thanks, Andre. I'm gonna have Sharika ask a question here as well. Sharika, there you go.
Hi there. I was wondering, does purchasing not on the GSA schedule, would that include micro purchasing?
So you mean simplified, non-formal, like credit card purchasing?
Yeah.
Yeah, they can, right? The agency, but let's talk about how you market it though, right? That's the rub, right? So let's say that let's make this easy. You talk to GSA itself, General Services Administration, one of their 7 or 9 divisions, right? And they want to buy your service or your products. Absolutely, that micro purchase, they can do it right off the schedule. Makes it super easy for them, right? But let's be honest, well, I got my credit card and I can put you on schedule. My credit card is $2,500, let's say, for this argument, let's say $3,000, right? So, but what you're selling me is more than $3,000. Yeah, let's use GSA. It's under $3,000. Why can't I just use my card? Unless I'm going to issue a BPA or something like that to you. So then if I'm going to buy multiple purchases over time, absolutely. GSA schedule will make it so much easier for me to do that, right? Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, I think you're good to continue, Andre.
Okay. So now we're at the library, okay? Now here's where the rubber hits the road, right? We have decided that we're going to get on schedule. It's the best thing. It's a strategic decision. And it should be a strategic decision because, like I said, we knew what we were doing and it took us 100 hours, right? It may take you 150, 200 hours to get on schedule through negotiations, right? Right. I know there's GSA houses out here and this is all they do and they have these templated things, but you also have to remember that a lot of times those are very simplistic schedules. They're not best in class. They're not any of that. They're just your basic schedules, right? But that's a different argument. But we've decided that we're going to do facilities management. We saw facility management was a major category. We hit it. Now we're down to facility management. And what we see is the definition of what facility management is with the SIN right here, right? It tells everything about it and if you fit. Now, if you still read this and you're still not sure, right? Yeah, you can call GSA. There's a number. When you actually look at the solicitation, which we're going to go to next, you can actually see what that the contracting officer who's responsible for that particular offering, and you can ask them if you fit. I've done that in the past, and every now and then I've even had them stumped, right? You know, so a perfect example is when cyber first became big, or with social media first became big, there was no performance history. So I had to actually call them to see if it would fit and all of those kind of things, but we're a lot down the road. Now, if you look up AI, there may not be a clean SIN for AI. It's probably just under technologies, IT, right? We don't know that yet. We will have to go through the system and see. But once you get to the library, you hit your major category and you'll see two things up here, right? One is GSA contracts online, right? Buyers, we'll hit that one later. That's the different agency, the different companies and those kind of things that are on schedule. And then we actually have the contract, because GSA is a contract. Also, let me stop for 1 second and say nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed. Your likelihood of getting on schedule can be high if you make the basic criteria, right? But nothing's guaranteed. Some of the reasons that companies don't get selected to actually have their schedule is they don't have a performance history. I had a client once, great company. They were in a teaming partnership. And when I inquired, hey, did you all have this expertise? They told me yes. I asked them 2 or 3 times. They told me yes. We wrote it up. Come to find out it was their teaming partner that had the expertise, and the contracting officer caught it after weeks of doing this stuff. And the contracting officer declined them, said, you don't have the expertise, your teaming partner does. So nothing's guaranteed, right? But once you decide that you're going to go after this, you're going to go to the e-library, you're going to select your major category, you're going to hit it, you're going to read it, and then you see up under facilities and maintenance, these are the other elements up under that. You have janitorial services, you have elevator, that kind of stuff, right? So then you're going to go from there, and this is a little breakout of those, what the little different terms and stuff. I put that on there so people can, you know, really understand what you're looking at. And there's also a link there for you. So let's talk about the solicitation. We're going to get to the solicitation. Here we go. Now, funny thing, you see it says sam.gov up there, right? So yes, the solicitations are up in sam.gov. Now, you can do it the hard way. You can try to find the schedule in SAM. You can, they sit there all the time. They have what's called a revolving door, right? So the doors are open all the time for things such as a GSA schedule. You can get on them at any time. Other schedules, maybe like, that would be a bad example, but let's say that you're going after your Seaport E, or some other. Seaport E is actually open door too. There are IDIQs and stuff that have closed periods on it. 8A stars, right? Perfect example. And it's a GWAC. It's you get on 8A stars, it has an open and close date, right? After it's closed, it is closed. It can be closed for 5 years, it can be closed for 8 years, right? It's closed. And only the companies that are on 8A stars are the only ones get to go after 8A stars work. So just so you know, there's a lot more to these elements than what people sometimes know or think. But Here's this, here it is right here. Here it is. We have the actual solicitation for the schedule, right? And if you go down to the bottom, if you ever been on SAMS.gov and you open the solicitation that had multiple documents on it, same thing here. What you would do is you would go in, and for this particular solicitation, these are some of the elements of the solicitation, right? You got any significant changes, you might want to take a look at that, you know, to see what's on it. Available offering Excel sheet. Unfortunately, I can't show you these documents because it would take too long to walk through them. Regulations by reference, that's something that you can read. And I'm going to tell everyone this. This is a legal document. Once you fill it out and you submit it, this is a legal document. Misrepresentation on this document is considered fraud. Not to scare anybody, but be careful about misrepresenting on any of these documents that you submit, because behind the scenes are all these rules and regulations that you inadvertently adhere to. So please make sure that if you decide to go on schedule, that you're doing it for your primary company, that you own that company, and it's not some bigger company in the background that maybe can't get on schedule who said it'd be great for you to get on schedule, and then we can piggyback and we can go after this work. There's the right way of doing that. There's the incorrect way of doing that. So just so you all know, and the NBDA can help you with all of those kind of answers if you need it, right? But these are the actual documents, every one of them. Hey, every one of them is multiple pages. Some of them is 50, 60, 100 pages, right? But it helps you if you understand what you're doing, and we can help you walk through all of those kind of elements. So GSA does have elements to be able to help you a little bit, right? Because they want you to be successful. They want you on schedule, right? Because you have to understand, if you look at all of these elements in the background, they're really businesses in themselves. They're agencies, but GSA, a percentage of its revenue doesn't even come from the government. It comes from the services that it sells. So when you're on schedule, there's an actual fee. When you win a deal, there's a small fee that you pay, right? To actually be able to, that kind of help covers the cost of all these elements that you would use on schedule. A lot of people don't realize that. They think it's free. It's not free, right? So, but there's a roadmap here to help you through that. And so here's the link to the roadmap. And I'll just read it here. What is the MAS roadmap? Provides information on the contract award process to make it easier to do business with the government. That's basically what it is. It breaks down the offer and its processes into easier steps. So I'm gonna show you what that looks like. So once you get there, once you get to the roadmap, this is from one, I want to say it was down to like 7, 8, maybe 9 different element and processes. Each one of these blue are live links. Now, when you hit pathway to success, that is 2 megabytes. I mean, it's a 100-page document, right? So read them, right? At least skim through them, at least say that you read them, right? So you don't get caught up on the back end. Now, social economic categories, everybody always wants to know 2 things. One, GSA is not a certification. It's not 8A Hubs on Service Disabled Veteran or anything like that, right? It's not. What happens is when the agency decides to put something on schedule, let's go back to the phone, right? When the agency decides to put out a solicitation, they may also do research. They can do research in different ways. They could technically just go in the back end of GSA and look and see how many women-owned companies sell cell phones and make the decision to set something aside. They could do their sources sought and go out here and do the homework. And a lot of times when they do homework on a sources sought or RFI, request for information, they'll say, what's your social disadvantage status? Are you 8A Hubs on whatever? They'll say, are you on schedule or are you on some other instrument, right? Because they're trying to find out which way they should allocate this thing, how they should allocate it out. And if they get enough women-owned businesses that's on schedule, all right, I get to make my goal and I get to use the schedule, so I'll put it out on schedule as a woman-owned business opportunity. Okay, that's really how it works in a very simplistic manner, but that's how it works. So if you call me and say, well, Andre, you know what? I can't get on any of the certifications. Can I get the GSA certification? well, you can you can be awarded a GSA contract, a schedule, yes, but it's not a certification. They're operated, they're used completely different, just so you know. Right? So then there's another element here called the pathway to success, right? It's a readiness assessment. And I'm gonna show you what that page looked like. But in this, what I'm really trying to do is just illustrate to you how we get through this, right? We only have an hour, so I have to get through it. But when you actually sit down and you talk about getting on schedule, you can see that you're gonna spend so much time putting this together and getting awarded that you might as well make it worth your while. Another thing to understand about GSA schedules, and this is a serious thing, is in most cases, we're looking at a price point, right? And most of your smaller deals on schedule, we're probably looking at LPTA, lowest price technically acceptable. I've worked with companies and who's been on schedule for years and they've never won anything. They kind of, they'll make it through their 25K or they'll get probation on it or something like that. And they just can't win because they say they can't lower their prices enough to be competitive. And I've actually had a company just a couple of weeks ago tell me, Andre, there's no way that anybody can supply products this cheap. Well, somebody won it, and it wasn't that particular client. So if you're looking at getting on the schedule, you have to understand why you're getting on it. Are we getting on it to move volume? Are we getting on it to try to produce quality? What is the methodology for getting on schedule? And that dictates the strategy in which you're going to employ once you're on it. All right. So anyway, you're going to go to the pathway of success. You're going to take the readiness assessment. There's a link right there. You're going to download all the documents to the solicitation, right? There's a link for that too. And then any other questions that you have, it says you can go to the GSA library or that, or you can just call the MBDA and we can get that for you. Here's what the readiness assessment page looks like. Right, and over to the left-hand side, you actually see the readiness assessment for the award, right, for the schedule, and so you get all that information is on this page, and so you can go through all of that, and our team can help you with that. And then finally, after you fill out all your paperwork, you get all because there is a checkoff sheet that you have to check off, right? You check off and say you have all this. Right? Then you're going to go to the actual offer page. This is where we actually upload all of these documents. Now, here's where it gets tricky. You actually have to have an electronic key to do this, right? And the electronic key is probably the only thing that I think actually has a cost. In the old days, when I used to do them a few years ago, it was about $150 for the electronic key. The irony was you only get one electronic key, and that's the key that everyone has to use, or whoever's uploading this information has to use. Now you can move the key from one computer to another, and you have to actually remove it off of one computer and move it to the other one, but it's best to just be left on the same computer, right? So once you have all your documents and you're ready to upload, you've done your checklist, everything is there, you're gonna actually upload it, you're gonna create your account, and then you're gonna start to upload your information and those kind of things. The contracting officer is going to look at it. Then they're going to, through the system, they're going to send you emails saying, hey, we need to see this. If you have a really cool contracting officer, they may pick up the phone and call you and try to help you through the process. It really kind of depends on the luck of the draw of who you get. But most contracting officers do try to be very helpful, right? And also remember, they went to school. They're very smart. They know what they're doing, and they know what to look for. So please, a lot of times when we're dealing with the government, we may not realize that these people actually went to school to learn this stuff. They actually went to school to figure out what's not right. So in essence, just be cautious of that, right? Here's some of the basic questions. I know we got about 10 minutes. I'm gonna go through this real quick and then I'll open it up for questions. So questions to consider up front. Does your market research show that either the feds, state, or local governments are buying your type of products and services that your company offers? It's really, really important thing. Now, the federal government buys everything. I have yet to find, well, there's a couple of things the federal government doesn't buy, but we're not going there. But I have yet to find in just general practice a product or service that the federal government doesn't buy. It may not buy it the way that you currently are offering it, but it may purchase some version of it. Now, the question is, would they buy it off schedule? That's what this argument is. And to do your research lets you know, you reach out to these 30, 40 agencies and they go, nope, we don't buy that off schedule. Nope, we buy that off NetSense because it's technology. We rather use our NetSense opposed to this, or chess for the Army, right? So you need to understand those kind of things. Have you been in business for at least 2 years, right? And you have 2 years of financial statements. Now, there is technically a waiver. It's not a waiver, but there's a way to do it to go after your schedule if you have less than 2 years, right? And we'll touch on that here in a second. But to make it easier on yourself, if you've been in business for 2 years, you've sold something, it is not a social disadvantage certification where you start your company today and you get scheduled tomorrow. It's not happening, right? Do you have evidence of a successful past performance, right? That could be, now, if your company hasn't been in business, let's say your company's been in business for a year, but you've been in the industry 20 years, and you can illustrate that, right? So there's a way to move forward even if you don't have the 2 years. Can you comply with all the MAS contract terms and conditions? Yes. If you're buying, hear me out. If you're buying your product from China and reselling it to the government, it does happen. I work with companies that do that. But there are rules and regulations about that. There are countries that we can't do business with, absolutely can't do business with. And if you're buying that product from a country that's barred or limited in how you can work with that country, just be cognizant of that. Or your items trade agreement, do they apply to the Trade Agreement Act? Once again, TAA. Got caught on this just a month and a half ago. Had some containers coming from China, and the agency that we were trying to sell to, Defense Logistics Agency, said that China was not part of the TAA alliance, so we couldn't use it. So we had to find another country to buy the containers from to be able to market, right? I've had that happen with several different things. Containers was just the latest one. Do you have the resource to market your commercial products and services after the award of the contract? That's one of the biggest things people forget. You still got to market. You still got to pick up the phone and call somebody. You still got to go to an event. You still got to target a solicitation. You got to do something, right? Now, if you're unique in your process, hear me out, you're proprietary in nature or something to that effect, yes, your phone may ring. 95% of the chance that it's not, because your competitor is probably marketing, right? So just keep that in mind. Here's if you decided to, let's say you didn't have your 2 years in as a business and you only had a year or so, right? The Startup Springboard will help you do that. It's, like I said, it's going to ask you for a few other documents and stuff like that. Your corporate experience, past performance, your quality control. Do you have a quality control process in place? Relevant experience as opposed to the sin that you're targeting. Products and services must be commercially available. Products and services must be, once again, TAA compliant. Proposed pricing and all of those kind of things. But if you don't have 2 years, you can still go after it. Right? Here's some of the other things that the MBDA, Minority Business Development Agency, that I'm representing today can offer you. Right? So once again, remember, we're a federally funded organization, so we do not charge for any of these types of services. And with that said, here was our team. Our team has changed a little bit. Carlene's not on it. Rufus is now with his own firm now. So there's been a couple of changes here, but you get the gist. So I'd like to open it up for questions or anything like that at this time. And also recommend that if anybody has any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to the MBDA, because we would much rather fix it ahead of time than have to try to clean it up later. So with that said, Sarah, are there any questions?
Not yet. Andre, you have wonderful timing. Look at that, 5 minutes left.
Yes, yes.
If you have a question, feel free to raise your hand and we can unmute you and allow you to talk. Let's see, it looks like Sharika has a question here. She is wondering if contacting and responding to RFIs is a good option for originating, or is it better to wait for solicitations?
RFIs and sources sauce are the best thing to do because it depends on the quickest that you can see a solicitation coming. RFIs and source of sauce are the quickest. The difference between the two, RFIs are open up to everybody, source of sauce are open up to small businesses. But if you're trying to shape an opportunity, that is where you would do it, right? So if you're not in front of the agency itself, the way that you're going to do it is you're going to put in your response to your source of sauce, any processes or anything like that that's unique. You're going to mark it confidential. And that's one way of getting the agency a way that the agency knows you exist. So absolutely. Absolutely. RFI, source of sauce, request for information, request for qualifications, all of those kind of things is a great way to do it.
Okay, we had Anthony just responded to you. He's wondering if you can talk more about certifications. Anthony, I will send you a recording of the webinar that Andre already did on certifications. And that will include our contact information. So then you can reach out to him directly if you have questions after. Before we close, unless there's any other questions, I just want to let you all know a week from today, next Wednesday, the 7th, we'll be doing a webinar on the Department of Energy's funding opportunities. That will be held by Jimmy Hendricks, who is with their minority business and workforce division there. And then 2 weeks after that, on February 21st, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office will be doing a webinar for us on IP. So after this webinar, I'll send out a recording of this webinar as well as a copy of Andre's slides. I will also send links to those upcoming webinars if you'd like to join us for those. And with that, I think we'll go ahead and close out unless you have any wise words to leave us with, Andre.
I'm going to say I appreciate everyone coming today. I know everyone's busy. There are some extra slides at the bottom of this PowerPoint as far as the springboard if you don't have 2 years and some other things here that may be of interest to you, right? And how the government utilizes the GSA schedules, the municipalities. So please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. And like I said, it's better for us to fix it on the front end and clean it up on the back end. And with that, I'd like to thank everyone. Sarah?
Thank you. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Thank you.